so excited to be here. And I'm so amazed that I am here because I know God is in favor of FaithCamp. For instance, the day I was supposed to come here. Furthermore, I only come every 3 years to America, and I came last year, so I'm all settled back. Oh, Lord, 3 years, and I'm really excited about what I'm doing. And then this year, just like a thunderbolt, I needed to come to America. I know it's God's will. I must go. And so I know that it's His will for me to be here. And so I've really looked forward to talking to you out west and whatever else God has in store for me. The day I was to leave Thailand, I flew from Mae Sot to Bangkok. And there's 2 airports in Bangkok. And I know that. But this airplane took me to an airport. I thought that was the one. And I stayed in a motel and had them take me in at 3:30 in the morning. And I joined the line, and I'm in this huge line of people that have to go back and forth until they get to the counter. Finally, after almost 2 hours, we get to the counter, and I'm at the wrong airport. And I'm like, oh, Lord, how did I do that? I don't trust myself anyway at all on everything technical or that takes any brains. And so I said, what do I do? And they said, well, go to information. So I went running around to information. I got my suitcase. Good thing I travel light. And then they said, you got to take the bus, and it leaves at 5, so you'll just have to wait for the bus. And so I go, oh. And the bus is free, but the airport's the other side of Bangkok. And so I'd run out the door, and I see a taxi, and the man is standing there. And so I said, could you take me to the other airport, and can you go fast? And he says, well, yes, it's 30 minutes, and it's 2,000 baht. And so I said, well, I guess I have to go. But you got to hurry. Well, taxi drivers don't need to be told to hurry because he's good at that, and we have to take the freeway. And even after 5 in the morning, it's busy in Bangkok. It's a city, and it's huge. And I got a grand tour of the whole city, which I never go to Bangkok, and I never want to. But this time, this guy is driving fast, and we're passing all the cars and trucks. We're weaving in and out, and we're going over the bridges, and it goes like a hump up like this, and woo! You go over the bridge, and you're flying through the traffic, and I look over here. We're going 160 kilometers and more. And the faster we go and the more cars we pass, the more relaxed I get because I know the angels are speeding me on my way, and I'm going to make it. And so we did. We made it, and he took my suitcase out, and he says, run! You've got to run. It's like he put my suitcase there, and it's got some wheels, but they're not too good, and I'm running. And I go to this certain gate, and because I'm so late, there's nobody there. But that made me even more nervous. And really, I caught the plane, obviously. And so since your Saturday, which is my Sunday, I've been traveling, and I got here Tuesday. And so I kind of still feel like I'm on an airplane. It's kind of a strange feeling. But it's just wonderful to be here. And I know God blesses faith camps and wants everybody to come to faith camp because He has helped me get here, and He also helped me get to the one in Thailand, which was a whole other story. So it's a real blessing, and I know I'm so blessed by seeing all of you and with the conversations I've had with you, too. So I also want to thank John and Natalie because they work so hard, and they're so overworked and underpaid and so over-helpful to us missionaries. We couldn't do it without them. And so I really want to thank them, and I want them to know I pray for them a lot so that they can have the help they need. They're understaffed, and they have to put up with so many obstacles that my heart just overflows with love for them. And so if you'll just join me praying for them and their work, because really I can just see how God is using them. I am out there, and for the first 4 years, I felt like an island, like nobody knew me, and they were the only ones. And then they've helped me since last year do a lot of things. So I want to start with prayer, and then I better hurry and move on. Let's pray. Oh, dear Lord, in heaven this morning, we want to praise your name because it's not about us. It's not about people. It's about you. And you are so faithful, and you are so loving that when we cast our eyes upon you, we can't take them off. And we want to praise you today and be able to somehow reveal your glory and your matchless love. And so bless us with your spirit and your company today, just now. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so today I will review the first 5 years of my existence in Thailand. And in the next 2 programs, I will talk about just this last year. Because there's enough to do many programs for just this last year, because in many ways it's been more intense last year than any other year. So if you've probably heard many of these things before, I'll touch the surface because you can't cover it in 1 hour, 5 years. But it's, it's only how God, if you remember how God's led you in the past, that you don't fear for the future. And so it's really good to review these things and the miracles and the strength how God gives you to carry on. And so I will start. It was 2008, and I was living in Montana with my 2 boys and my husband. And something wasn't right in my home. And so I was praying a lot about my home. And then I got impressed by the Holy Spirit to pray a bigger prayer and say, oh, Lord, whatever it takes, save my family for heaven. And I know we pray that all the time anyway, but whatever it takes. But something about this prayer this time was really big, and I couldn't pray it. And so day after day, and I think, well, you know what? If I can't give him all of me, then I am none of his. And so, I just felt so sorry that I waited a few days, and I knelt and I said, Lord, whatever it takes, save my family for heaven. And that's what it took for the Lord to reveal some things to me about my home, because my husband left me Christmas Day, December 2008. And not only did he leave me that year, but he'd really left 2 years before. But I just didn't know it. And so now, through all the pain and through all the tears and shock, because I didn't know, the Lord came to me and he reassured me, I'm still here. Did you forget that? And he helped me write a poem, Oh, Dear Jesus, Take Control. So that poem has kind of been the theme of my life since then. And the bad events in your life, if you're going through something terrible, or if you know somebody's going through something terrible, if they can just grab hold of the Lord, he can do something really big for you because of the bad. He can turn it into good for you. And because he's doing that for you, it'll work for many others around you as well. There is nothing like fully serving the Lord and just letting him take control, because we are no good at controlling ourselves. And so it was a miracle how I came to Thailand, and they've told you it. I relieved some missionaries. So I stayed at that school for 10 months, and then we found a place to work. And in this place, there were many problems, because these are Karen people, and I am way out in the jungle, and it takes 4.5 hours by truck on terrible roads to get there. And the people are living like they lived 100 years ago or more in Burma. These are Karen people that have fled to Thailand because of the war that the Burmese fight against them. They've had to flee their homes so many times into the jungle and seen their relatives, their family even, tortured and killed. And they are undertrodden, and they are forgotten and abused, and I love them. So I have devoted my life to work with the Karen people. I fell in love with them the first 3 months and didn't need to come home. And so after 10 months, I'm in this village. And a few of the obstacles and problems I face in that village is poverty. The people are very poor. They're very, very poor. They live in bamboo huts that they build themselves. They do everything themselves and live off the land, and do have gardens and rice fields. The children are forgotten because there are so many problems, and they are really parentless. I am the mother to all the children over there. Very dirty, very sick, and the nutrition is terrible because they eat anything that's alive along with their rice and chili. So you can't expect a lot of health in conditions like that. Opium is a huge problem for us. This must be the Opium Village capital of where I live, because in this village the people just blatantly have their opium. He's got a syringe, open syringe filled with opium behind his ear like you would put a pencil there. And he's ready to use this and put it in the vein anytime. And it's not sanitary. People die quite often from contaminations in the way they fix their opium. But they are hopelessly addicted to this stuff. Many people are trying, the government is trying to stop the opium, but because of opium, they can't think straight, they can't take care of their families, they can't keep their huts up and running, their huts are falling down, and they can't keep up with their rice crops, and they might get somebody else to fix their opium fields, but then those people get addicted to the opium too, and so everything is going downhill. It's a major problem. They also drink and smoke and chew betel nut. This is one of the grandmothers, you know, nobody takes care of the children, so if the parents are looking for opium, then the grandparents take care of the children. This grandparent, you can see, she is using opium herself. So they smoke it, they rub it on their skin, they put it in their hair, and whatever they can do to get the effect from opium. And this is betel nut. Betel nut is something that takes nutrients out that they didn't have already in their bodies, and it destroys their teeth and takes the layer of enamel off their teeth, and then it all sawed off at the end, so disease and germs get in, and that also weakens your system. These people also worship the spirits. And they believe that the spirits are in their body, and if the spirits leave them, they get sick. So if somebody's sick, they've got to call the spirit back. And they have over an hour incantation and ritual to call it back with beer and raw chicken meat and rice and tapping and chanting and singing and the things they go through to find the spirits and to please the devil. They worship the devil also. They don't know God. They don't know the name of Jesus. Also, the older people in my area, they still think, like they did years and years ago, they think that the white people eat the Korean babies. This man asked, do the white people will they eat the Korean babies? And at first, some of the people hadn't had a white person with them, and I'm the only one over there, but they know me now. Also, a problem is the wild elephants. The first 4 years, we didn't have the elephants. And every elephant I ever saw was tame, and they walk slowly and carry the load. Somebody sits right here, and it's okay. But then we heard some wild male elephants got loose from the Forest Service near us, and the female elephants are near us, and those elephants came at mating season, and they never went away except for 1 month, and they came back. Right now, they've gone again. So maybe it'll last more than 1 month. But people are terrified. People are being killed. They're being stomped on. They chase every person, every motorcycle, and every truck. And so every time we've gone through, we see the dung, the elephant dung, and the footprints. And sometimes we see the elephant, but God has protected us every time. And you know, when you work for God, the place where you're working, no matter how dangerous it is, it's the safest place on earth. And you don't have to be afraid. Another problem we face is the roads. The roads are terrible. Now, a third of our time, I'd say a good third of our time is spent traveling, whether we go on foot, on motorcycle, or by truck. And so each one of them is very dangerous because your feet also, you really have a hard time walking in some of these places. And the truck, too, is very dangerous. This was quite an experience that day. The road is angled toward that hole, and then above it gets even worse, and it's raining. So rain spells disaster for us out there when we're traveling. But you know, the times the angels have taken us through, pushed us up and helped us. And okay, there's the tires. This is like a glorified scorpion, and it's harder, it's worse than a scorpion bite. It's like a centipede or whatever, and it will bite. It can kill a small child, but for adults, it will hurt you for 3 weeks and might cause some skin to die. Very dangerous. This spider can kill you. And this spider, I didn't know could kill you. In fact, when the guy that works with me, Bloodjaw, he called me outside one day to show me this spider he just killed. And he said, this can kill you. And so you got to be really careful. I said, oh, I just saw 3 of them in the house this week. I've seen those guys. And so then the very next night, I'm taking a bath, and we get the dipper and the bucket of the water, and we take our bath, and I'm taking my bath, and I feel something on my back. And so I kind of look, there's a little mirror, and I look, and it's one of those. It's in the center of my back where you can't reach very well, you know? And so I don't know how I did it, but I reached that spot pretty quick and got that guy off of me. And then the very next day, I'm washing the dishes. I have just one plate, and I have a rag and some soap, and I wash the plate, and I put the plate there, and I squeeze the rag out, and I put it down, and that very one came out of the rag and went through my fingers, across my hand, and off my arm. And again on my leg, here and there. These guys are all over the place. But you know, the same God that closed the mouth of the lions for Daniel, he closes the mouths of these things from us. And he also told us in Luke that we don't have to fear. We can tread on scorpions. He will protect us from all evil. And you know what? We can't be afraid because day after day we see he's doing that, just that. Snakes are a big thing because in the damp jungle floors they multiply. And there are so many different kinds of snakes, and they're all these that I'm showing you, these are all poisonous, and this one can kill you. And then the cobra is there, and I usually don't kill it or take a picture of it because I try to get away. The cobra can chase you, and it's really big. And then these green guys, the green pit viper is very poisonous, and they're the most aggressive. Out of all my patients, they get bit by that snake the most. We started out in our home with my 2 boys, Bledjaw and myself. I knew we were where God wanted us because somebody donated us enough money to buy a truck. And we went out there on faith. We didn't have any money. And we had this hut. It's a bamboo hut made for us. It took us 10 minutes to move in because we didn't have anything. And so this is my kitchen. And this is where I sleep. And then this is where we cook. And so that's how we lived for a while. And when we first started, we weren't busy with a lot of patients, but people would come just out of curiosity, and everybody had a problem and aches and pains. And so as we just gave and did everything we could for each one, God gave us more. And so we found out the more we gave, the more God gave to us, and we could do more. And this is how things grew. But when we first established a work over there, where people don't even know God, Satan hates it. And you know, I consider myself so small and insignificant, and I think that I'm doing really hardly anything compared to the mountain of villages all around me, that it shocks me that Satan doesn't like it so bad. So then I get delighted because that means it is good, it is doing something for God, and he is going to have a harvest here someday. And so those things do encourage me, but we had a terrible time establishing this work. In fact, when we took a visa run, we took the motorcycles because we didn't have the money to take the truck. And my son got hit by a truck head on. And Micah and I also, we were on a separate motorbike. We all got hit, but he was hit the hardest, and I saw him get hit, and I saw him hit the ground, and I knew he should die. And we thought, well, maybe we're in the isolated mountain road going on our way to Laos for our visa. And at that moment, I thought, well, the driver will come out and help me because there's nothing around. There's nothing. And I think my son is going to die. And so, but God gives me courage, and he says, in all things give thanks, for this is the will of God for you. So I'm taking off his helmet, and his head's okay, and his neck is okay. And I said, thank you, Lord. And this is okay, and this is okay. Well, this was not okay, and this one. So left arm and right leg. And so the man in the truck, though, was angry at us because Bradley dented his truck. And so we had a mad ride to the hospital. We had a really bad time. And I had to go to surgery. I had to sleep under that bed and had to be with 24 other casualty victims from Burma. And he was brought to surgery like a cattle to the slaughter. And it was a really hard time. And then my son got discouraged and went to America. And he was my driver. He drove the truck. He was so courageous and yet so careful that I really appreciated him. So when he left, you know how a mother feels. Then my other son stayed with me for a few more months, and he missed his brother, and he wanted to go to school, so then he left. And he was driving for me after Brady left. And so now I'm like, oh, Lord, what am I supposed to do? And my friends, actually, I don't know, friends, people, say, you know, you need to give up and go back to America because things are too bad for you here. And I say, well, let's see what God wants me to do, because we started this. And you don't leave your appointed duty unless you're clearly pointed out to do that. And so I prayed, and everything God is telling me, go forward. Go forward. And so I said, I'm staying here. So I stayed. And this right here, not without a struggle, because does God allow the kingdom of, does Satan allow the kingdom of God to be built upon earth? The forces of evil are engaged in unceasing warfare, but always we're told, don't fear. You know, God is a God of impossibilities, and he is there. And so if we think we're alone, we are not a bit alone. And you know, he showed me I can be more help to my children by doing fully God's will than in trying to follow them or trying to do my own thing because I feel discouraged. No, God can answer my prayer for my children. I can tell you a lot more about that, right? I keep going. So after they left, I have to drive because Bledjaw, my helper, is still with me, but he can't drive. And so I have to go back in. It had just rained for 5 months, and I'm driving that Mitsubishi truck in the long way because the short way is impossible. And the long way is 5 or 6 hours. The short way is 4.5 hours. But the road was so bad it took us 7 hours to get in. We high-centered 5 times, and I was really tired. I only had to stop, I think, 3 times to throw up. I was so tired. And so by the time we got to Biota, our village, I parked that truck, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell Bledjaw. But in my heart, I said, okay, I will never drive that truck again. It will stay right there. And I'm walking. I'm not going to drive that truck. And so then I was too tired to even go to my home. I slept at the neighbor's house. I just lay on their bamboo floor and I slept. Well, after you pray and you sleep, you know what? It's a miracle. You wake up the next morning, you're changed. You know, you've got the extra strength and faith and courage after you pray, and I'm okay. And I have to take somebody to the clinic, which is 2 hours the other way. And I'm driving. But I taught Bledjaw how to drive, and now he's a really excellent driver. Now also, this is a wonderful quote. Mark it down. He will not suffer a true-hearted worker to be left alone, to struggle against great odds and be overcome. Doesn't the devil want us to think that? It's too much for you. No, it's not. And if you keep going, you can do great things. And God immediately filled my hands with lots of work to do for him. Somebody came to my house. I should have gone to another village, but my guide didn't come. So I'm thinking, why didn't he come? Well, because God had something else for me to do. And they say, somebody shot himself, and he lies dead. Please come. So I think, okay, I'm a nurse. And what do I do if somebody's dead? I might just need a stethoscope and make sure they're dead, and maybe a blood pressure cuff. So I bring that, and I go. And in this village, everybody's crying. And everybody is sitting around wailing. And I have to go into this hut, and it is a mess. I look in there, and there's blood all streaming out of his ear, and he's slumped against the corner of the bamboo hut, but he's not dead. And so I go, and I take his blood pressure, and he's got a low blood pressure. And I take his pulse, and I check him out, and he's not dead. And I think, oh, we've got to just put him in the truck and go. Because when you have an emergency in my village, you have to hang on to your life for a long time before you're going to get the necessary help. We have to drive you 2 hours on bad roads out. And that's 2 hours if it's a good day. And then you get to a clinic, which can't do any more than me. And then they put you in another truck and take you to the nearest hospital, which is small, and that takes 3 hours. So that's 5 already, right? And at that hospital, they don't do surgery. So then they take you 5 hours to Chiang Mai, and there you can have your surgery once the surgery suite gets available. So when I said goodbye to this man, he was in shock. He looked terrible. I thought, this man will die. In all my medical sense, I know this man will die. He shot himself right in the ear. I don't know about guns. I don't know what kind it was, but he went right in the ear. And he wanted to die. Opium does this to people. They go up and down. And so we went home, and we prayed. And we prayed for this man. And in 3 weeks, this is what happened. In 3 weeks, this man came home, and he was alive. And the doctor said he will work in his rice field in 1 year. But in 6 months, he was working in his rice field. And now we do Bible studies in their house. All this time, we've done Bible studies. Every single Monday night that's possible, we do Bible studies in their home. This little girl in purple on his lap loves her daddy. She loves her daddy more than anything else in the world. And he told me that after he shot himself, he heard her cry behind him. And she cried so loud, he thought she would die. And so he said to himself, if I live, I'll never do opium again. And he lived. So, you know what? I kind of think he's doing opium again. So these people really need your prayers because everybody's doing the opium. It's a real problem. But the rest of them are really faithful and love the Lord. And I really thought I'd come this year telling you I baptized my first person. My first person got baptized, but not yet. But there is a group in that village we have studied with now for 3.5 years, going on 4. And they're ready. They've gone through everything. I believe they're ready. So now we're just so close. We're just really friends. When you save somebody's life, they want to know the God you serve. This is their family. They've got 6 children. The older girl is married. Okay, the next person I want to tell you about, I'm just touching the highlights, but I want you to know about these people because in the next 2 talks, they're going to come back to you, and I have more to say. So this man's name is Chaudhry. He's 62 years old, and he has rectal cancer. When I met him, he just had rectal bleeding, and I thought maybe a hemorrhoid, and not too many cancer patients out there, and so, but that didn't help. And then I found out from somebody else that he was supposed to go to Mesot for cancer. Well, I was in my home in another village, and his son-in-law came to me. And I really care about this man because he has really turned his heart to God. He's the first person and family that I was able to cut the devil's strings off their wrists, their waists, their ankles, and their necks. And they decided to serve God and not worship the witch doctor or the monk. Or their religion is mixed up with devil worship and Buddhism. It's all mixed up. And you can hear so many things. I wrote a whole page of weird stuff that they think and do. It's beyond our comprehension. But this man, he said, I don't want to do that anymore. I have paid that witch doctor, all my cows, all my chickens and pigs, and I'm no better. And you come when it's raining, and you go through all that, and you're happy, and you give us the medicine. I want to worship the God you worship. And I cut all the strings off. And then he said, after I cut them off, he said, okay, yesterday we worshiped the devil. Today we worship God. And so you would climb any mountain. You would endure any leeches on your feet. You would go through anything to get somebody to change their heart like that. And this man is influential in his village. 5 other families want to worship God too. One family is trying to keep Sabbath, but they don't know how. And it takes a long time to teach because they're very slow. This man, the son-in-law, came to me one day and he said, there's a problem because Chaudhry hasn't gone to the bathroom, had a bowel movement for 2 weeks. I said, oh dear, this is really dangerous and his stomach is hurting. So I did this emergency. I've got to get him to the hospital. Well, we have a lot of problems of where we are. And Blejo is not with me. I had a student with me at the time. And we decided we've got to pack our things because I'm going to have to take him to the hospital. And it's raining. And we're not driving anything. We're walking now. We walk. And so we've got to walk him out. Somehow we've got to get him out. And I know he's got a blocked bowel. And when I checked him, he did. He had a blocked bowel. Well, he's ready to go, and his son-in-law is with him. And this man with a blocked bowel, my nursing diagnosis, he and the student and I, we walked straight up a mountain to get out to the road where we can possibly get a truck. But the main road is really bad to be in a truck, too. So up this mountain we go. It's this student and me and Chaudhry and then the son-in-law. And it's hard enough for us. We're slipping. We wear thongs, you know. And when you're in the mud and it's all over your thong, you can't wear that. And so you take those off and you're walking and leeches are all over your feet. And you do stop and pull them off, don't you, Becky? You stop and pull them off, but they come back. And so we're climbing, and it's straight up, and it's 2 hours. And there's Chaudhry, sick, and he's coming along. But these people are really strong, thankfully. And so I'm praying the whole time for this man. And when we get to the top, I look at my feet, and it's just like hairs waving at me from all over my feet with all the leeches on my feet. But one good thing about leeches, they don't give you malaria, they don't give you dengue fever, they don't give you scrub typhus, so it's not a problem. And then we get on the main road, and we still have to walk because there's no truck up there. And we walk a long way. You can imagine what we look like. And so then a truck comes, we get to the main road, and then we got to take a bus. And I'm going to go to Mesot because I know he's been there before. We'll go to Mesot. So I get him in there, they admit him, and I go somewhere to sleep the night. And I come back in early, but I've missed the doctor. And I'm at Chaudhry's bed, and the doctor has gone past him. This is, they have a suite. There's 8 here, 8 here, 8 here, and 8 here. And so I'm waiting for him to finish that row and go to the next. And I will ask the doctor, what is he going to have surgery? This to repair this. And so the doctor comes by, and I'll tell you, most Thai doctors are really nice. And actually very nice. And Thai people are respectful. Buddhism makes you want to just be kind and do nice things. This doctor wasn't nice. And he came by, and I said, excuse me, can you tell me about this man? I missed your visit. He said no. And he took his elbow, and he rammed it in my chest, and I went, whoa, back like that. And out he went. I was like, whoa. And Chaudhry, he sits up in bed. He says, I'm going home. And so I said, well, good. I think that's a good idea because if that doctor took you to surgery, he might kill you. So I don't think we better stay here. But now what are we going to do? I've got an emergency. I've gone through all this to come out to get some help, and I still don't have any help. Well, I've cleaned up a little bit by this time, but I don't look too good. And he is from the jungle. He's dirty. He smells bad. Because the bowels aren't moving, there's water. It's just a mess. And so I've got to take him somewhere else. And I think, okay, there's an Adventist hospital in Bangkok. And I talked to Dr. Nick on the phone. He's American, but he speaks Thai also. And sometimes when I'm in a desperate situation, I call him. So I decided I'll just go there. It's like a city of refuge. So, and God worked it out. One of my friends was going there to go to the airport, and she took us. Well, I stopped at I stopped at another hospital on the way because I started getting too worried about Chaudhry, and this was a pretty big hospital. I said, just leave us here. So we went in there, and she went on. And as the nurse saw that patient, and then the doctor hadn't seen him yet, said, well, you won't stay here. You'll have to go to Phitsanulok, and you have to pay the whole thing because his card is from a different section. And oh, I can't do this. And so then I call the girl. She comes back, and she gets us, and we go on to Bangkok. Well, I get to Bangkok, and I've got him with me, and I see the doctor, Dr. Nick. I sit there, and he says, now, let me tell you. He says, this hospital is under budget, and we've had to lay off some nurses, and so everything is going to have to be paid. Now, this is a private hospital, and this bill is enormous. I can't possibly touch that bill. And so I'm like, oh, but isn't it an emergency? Well, somehow they couldn't see him at all. And he told me, you need to go to Chiang Mai. Well, Chiang Mai is like 12 hours on the bus from that place. And so I am like, oh, Lord. And I'm really concerned. I love this man. He is following God. I have cut his devil strings off. He has influenced 5 families in his village, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so I get on a bus, and we're on a bus. Now, Thai people are very clean, and their hair, the women, is perfect. And everything, even the garbage man, they have uniforms, and they're clean, and they're ironed. And I'm on this bus, not looking too good myself. And this man is smelly, and he's dirty, and the people abhor him and me. And they won't get anywhere near him. They're doing everything to get away. And then we stop at the places where you go to the bathroom, and he spends a long time in there. And then the bus is starting to leave. I'm telling the driver, no, stop. There's one more. And then I have to do that. And finally, we get to Chiang Mai. I'm like, oh, relief. And we get to Chiang Mai and go into that hospital and wait. You wait all night. We slept there. We just waited all night. And the next day, he got to see a doctor. Now it's going on 2.5 weeks for him. And we see a doctor, and the doctor says, no, you have to pay. You're in the wrong place. You need to go to Amkoy. And I go, that's another 5 hours. No. I said, I cannot. He said, well, sorry, you just can't do that here. And so I go to social services because once before they paid the bill for another patient I brought in. But you know what? There were different people there. They treated me the same way. You need to learn where to take these people. You just can't just come here like that. And so I want to cry, but I pray. And so I go back up, and I see this doctor, and he says, okay. He says, I'll take an x-ray, and if it's a blocked bowel, he'll stay, and if not, you just have to go to Amkoy. So okay, good. That's fair enough. So he takes an x-ray, comes back, and he can't quite tell, and then he calls another doctor in, looks at it, and she says, it's a blocked bowel. He needs to go to surgery quickly. He said, we'll admit this man, and don't worry, and he gets admitted, and he gets his colostomy, and all this stuff gets done, and we have to go back and forth. And so that's his story. That is Chaudhry. And we go as often as you can to do Bible studies in his home. And I read this just after that happened. It's so encouraging. Okay. For the conversion of one sinner, what did Jesus do? He did all for one person. So we should tax our resources to the most because Jesus comes to save us, and we should not do less. And so when people call me, I go, and I will try and do my best with each one, and God will bring rewards. This is his wife, and this is another family that's trying to keep the Sabbath. And this is the next village I want to go to full time. I will build a clinic here when somebody takes my place where I am now. Okay, rainy season is really hard, okay? It lasts 3 or 4 months, and it rains constantly. Usually you don't see any sight of the sun or the blue sky or the stars or the moon, and it's rained constantly. And you are walking with a backpack of medicine, and you are really squirming and sliding and slipping, and nothing's level much. Everything is up or down. And so this one time probably is my worst time, because this right here is where a landslide came down the mountain. The trees often just give way, because with that much rain, the earth is not that solid anyway, and so the whole earth is loosened up. And so big parts of the mountain slide down the hill. And this is a small stream in the summer, but now it's flooded, and it is quicksand. And that little log that we're walking on is loose, and the only thing that holds it there is the current of the water kind of going that way. It's holding it against those flimsy little things that are about to fall down. And I could walk across that, but when you have a backpack on and it's heavy, it's really, really hard to keep your balance. And one girl before had lost her balance there, and her foot went in, she could hardly get it back, and she lost her shoe forever. And so we're trying to be really careful. On the way back, it's really raining, so that made it impossible. Also, but it's so worth it, because when we got to this village name is Nalikwi. It's this much, and then there's more houses on the other side of the mountain. And this is the one where you saw the guy with the opium syringe in his ear. And there's one house here whose lady, I saved her life, because you know what, God will send you to the right village. You think, what village will we go to today? We don't have a set program, but we try to get the ones that are more receptive to God, or that God impresses us to go to. And we went to this village. She had been sick for almost 2.5 weeks with vomiting and diarrhea. She was dehydrated. Her stomach hurt. She couldn't walk. She was very sick. She would have died. And so we were able to get her to the hospital in time. She spent 2 weeks in the hospital and came back and built up. So she also is very, very interested in knowing our God. This is the second family. I cut the strings off. So the Lord is making an impression. The strings came off all of her family, around the little babies and the adults and all the children. We cut every string off. This is a wonderful time. This is a time when your heart just sings and you can't contain your joy, because it's just too great. The windows of heaven have opened and God is there, and these people want to serve God. They have a real hard time understanding. But you know what? I know God lets them understand as much as they need to know. And so we just simply tell them the gospel story. And this, the devil charms and things off the door. And then they want their picture taken with me. And that is her mother. The other one is Sheepaw, and this is Sheepaw's mother. And she's got a beautiful smile. And this lady, of all the people we talk to, she is the most intent on the stories of Jesus and the pictures. The pictures just mean so much. This one time I told the story of Jesus blessing the children, because I call this village the village of children. There are 30 children, and they always flock around me when I come. I love the children. And this time I told that story, and I had that picture. And at that moment, she just sat transfixed at that picture for a very long time. I could feel the Spirit of God in that little hut. And I read this quote: "Heaven is much nearer to the Christian who's engaged in the work of soul saving than many suppose, even myself, than many suppose." And you know, these times you can just feel God is working. This is the group that we worship with in that village. This is a story. This boy in the blue, his name is Kana Wood. He is 1.5 years old. And this boy is in yet another village. It takes us 2 hours to walk to that village. And we got there just when we needed to get there this time, because this boy that you see in this picture, he's 1.5 there, but the first time I went, he was 9 days old. And of course, they don't deliver their babies in a clean fashion, and there's a lot of infection going on. And when I saw this baby, I knew he was septic. He's got a problem with his infection in the blood. And the reason I know it is that his breathing was not regular, right, doctor? He would breathe 5 or 6 times fast and then stop, a period of apnea. And I counted the seconds. It was for 6 seconds. And then he'd start to breathe again. And I said, this baby needs to go to the hospital. But you know what? They wouldn't go, because when you worship the spirits and you're controlled by the devil, these people feel like there are certain days when you cannot go. If you're sick, you have to have a ceremony in your home, and all the family has to be there. Many times they take their people out of the hospital before their surgeries, before anything. Even if they're going to die, they have to take them out, and they have to be in the same house for this ceremony. So they wouldn't come with us because they had to do that and this and that, so many reasons. And so they wouldn't come. They refused. And we're walking anyway, so we walked back. And we think, the next day, we got to go back. So we walked back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 hours walking. And we go back, and now it's 9 seconds in between breathing. And the father says to me, you know, in the nighttime, I think my baby will die. I said, yes, this baby will die. We've got to take it to the hospital. I'm going to come back in the truck. And so, but no, they have to talk to their parents. And no, it's still not a good day. They cannot. And so we go back, we get a truck, and we come back. And you know, if that apnea is 15 seconds, that baby will die. It would die. And it was up to about 14 seconds when I came back. And so I went in the house, I picked up the baby, and I said, I'm going to the hospital. You can come with me if you want. I don't know if I should have done that. But I went. I had the baby in my arms, and the father came. And he sat in the front, and I give him the baby, and I sit in the back, and I'm praying. Now we have to go 4.5 hours from where they live to get to the west side. And so bad roads. And every now and again, I hear that baby gasp, and I hear a little, and I'm, oh, Lord, save this baby's life. And so really in the jungle, the last medical person that takes care of a patient, if something bad happens to a patient, it's always the fault of that last person. So, you know, it's a big responsibility because I am representing Christ. And so I need his healing powers. And so we get to the hospital. I jump out of the back seat. I run to the front seat. I grab the baby with the blanket, and I run into the emergency room, and I put him down on the stretcher. And as soon as I lay that little baby on the stretcher, he stopped breathing forever. Just stop breathing. And the people, I call the nurses, and they come, and then they put the ET tube down, and they breathe this baby. Now, this baby needs a respirator, so he can't stay at that hospital. He's got to go to Mesot. That's the next big hospital. So he went by ambulance, and I saw that baby go, and I cried, and I was praying. And then I heard after Mesot, I had to go to Phitsanulok because Phitsanulok is a bigger hospital, and so he needed that intensive care there, and he's on a respirator. I hear that. Oh, I say, Lord, I know how this goes. Those babies maybe hang on for 5 or 6 months, and that's it. I know this. I've seen this before. And then pray. You know what? God can do all things. And as I prayed, it took a few weeks, just a few weeks. It wasn't even a month. I forget exactly how long. And that baby came back to Mesot Hospital. It stayed at Mesot Hospital 2 days, and it came back to Metta Hospital. It stayed 2 days, and it's ready to go home. And it's a big miracle. And here he is. He's as cute as he can be. And here he is in Metta Hospital the day he went home, well and healthy. And there they are. They're going to go all that way on a motorcycle with that little boy holding him in front of him on a motorcycle. The people can do anything on motorcycles out there. It's amazing. God has helped us so many times. Now, where I live, there's an awful lot of respiratory problems, especially in the rainy season. Those little children, they get so filled up, and they have such loud noises in their lungs, it sounds like a freight train. In America, I've never heard lungs so bad, ever, as I hear from child after child after child over there. And some of them, they come and they're ashen-colored, and they're really in trouble. But in the rainy season, we can't take them anywhere. But I have a nebulizer, and I have salbutamol, and I can give them a breathing treatment, and I can pray, and I can give them the decongestants. And so I do my best with this baby. Time after time, this baby came in. But now it is well, and it hasn't been sick now for over a year. And the baby is really, really cute. I love the children. Also, since they saw how I deliver babies, they don't like how I do it because I don't press on the stomach. Because you can give them placenta previa and rip that uterus right out, and they get either side of the woman like this, 2 of them, and lean as hard as they can and push to think they got to push that baby out. And I don't let them do that. Plus, I'm too clean. They don't like that. They don't want water. They think water is really bad. When you're pregnant, no water. Before or after. For 3 weeks after, no water. And they have so many. Pregnancy and delivery is amazing over there. So what they do, they don't call me to deliver their baby, but if there's a problem and they've got an emergency, they call me to get them out of their trouble. So I go there, and this lady has really, really got a problem. She's bleeding. And I just had gotten, every month I can get something extra in my medical supplies. I just got oxytocin, and oxytocin tightens up the uterus and can help stop the bleeding if there's not some unknown tear in there. And so I give that. It helps her a lot, but she needs a blood transfusion, and the baby's also septic. It's got a high fever. It's born with a fever. And I don't know. I didn't see that before, but I got to take this. I'm up all night with this lady, and I bring her in, and I pray because this is the only girl. She's got 4 boys, and they want this girl. It's a girl. And so I pray for this lady, and she got her blood transfusions and came back, and she lives in my village in Biota. So, and that baby is really the cutest thing. This man, he lives in Upium Village. That is in 2 hours drive in the truck and more than 2 hours to walk. And this village, I found a man. He had a bad gallbladder and many things, I never see as bad. His gallbladder is way out here. And he can't move, and he can't eat, he can't drink, he can't go to the bathroom, and his temperature is sky high, I forget what it was, really high. And so we've got to go to the hospital, but I'm really scared because, and I am always the only one scared because I know what complications can happen. Nobody else is medical. And so they think as long as he's breathing and talking, it's okay. And so they don't really know. You want to go to the hospital, and they don't really want to, and so you have to really talk him into it. But this guy went 4.5 hours in that truck, and you can go slow, but you want to go fast too, and you don't want to bump him and bounce him around, but 4.5 hours he took of that, and he got to the hospital in time. His life was saved. This man had amoebic dysentery. It can kill an adult in 1 day, and he'd had it for 2 days. And when I saw him, his eyes were sunken in. His skin was like a tent, and he had no urine. He was so dehydrated, but I was able to bring IVs in to him and start them, and I couldn't take him anywhere either. And so I sat with him and gave him ORS and gave him those fluids, and the next day he was way better. And then by the second day, he's well. And you know what? I am no good, all right? I read this. Let me just show you Ephesians 3:8. I am less than an ordinary person, and so it's obvious God is so good. Let's go to Ephesians 3, verse 8. Unto me, this is Paul, the greatest pastor that ever lived. Unto me, who am less than the least of all the saints, is this grace given that I should preach among the Gentiles. And you know what? If Paul is less than the least, I am so much less than that. But yet God hears my prayers. And so this is how we receive our encouragement and our strength from the Lord. And this man recovered. This lady right here, she is ICU material. Again, this is rainy season. She lived in the next village. It's pretty close to me, so I could run back and forth. And she was septic, and she had no urine for 3 days, no urine. And she was not eating, drinking. She couldn't walk, all that stuff. Her color is gone. She is very, very sick, and I'm scared. But I pray, and I start the IV, and I let it go, and I give her more IV. I don't have IV antibiotics, but I can give her IV. I can give her PO antibiotics, and then I give her a Foley catheter. I just had gotten one, and I thought, someday I might need that. And I put that in, and that's her urine. It's black. It's thick. And I think, you know what? This lady really should die. And so I'm praying. Now, in 2 days, I have to make a visa run. And so I have to take the IV out and the Foley catheter. But she's already improved. And so I'm still praying, but I have to go do my visa. So I pray and tell them I'll come as soon as I'm finished. I'll come right back. And you're going to get well, God. Because she's 80 years old, which is another high-risk factor. And even her family said, well, she's old. She needs to die. And I had told them, not if God wants her to live. If God in heaven wants her to live, she will live. And she lived, and she's with us today. Okay, this man right here, he comes to me. I'm just giving you a little idea of some patients. He's got a dislocated shoulder. His humerus is right out of the socket, and it's out here. And not only that, but it's been that way for 4 months. And he can't move his arm, and it's pain. He can't move his arm. I go, oh, aren't we fortunate? Because tomorrow I'm going to Meta Hospital. I'm going to go. I've got another lot of patients to take, and I can take you because I can't do that. That takes medicine and IVs and strength, and there's no way I'm going to touch that. And so I'm really excited about that, but he's not because it's not a good time for him. He's got to do the spirit thing, and my heart just sinks. And furthermore, can you see his arm? The same arm where it's dislocated? He's got all those needle track marks up his arm from opium. And the opium takes first place. If they go to the hospital, they don't get their opium. And so he went back home. Many times that happens. Here's another story. This lady, she'll tell you she's 200 years old. And her name is P.U. P.U. is very old indeed, but I don't know. Nobody knows. They don't know their age. When they come to me, I put a card on everybody, and I ask their age, but most of the time they don't know, and they look at the other person. The other person's trying to tell them how old they are, and everybody's laughing and guessing, and even the children, most of the time, they don't know. I think he's about 10. I think he's, I think. And so this lady, I'm 200 years old, and I don't know why I haven't died yet. And I think, oh, Lord, how can I help the lady? You know, the old people we need to really work with because they don't have long. And so when we go to that village, we just separately visit her because she stays in that house, doesn't walk around much. Here she is. And she's got this same little hut. It's a tin place, but the floor is giving away. I don't know if I put a picture of the floor in there or not. And so we bring her clothes, we bring her food, and we pray with her, and we tell her little things about Jesus. Well, on this particular day, when I visited her, I said, do you talk to Jesus? She says, yes, you taught me how. She says, I talk to Jesus every day. And so I am so happy. Here she is, and she's walking, and she's sitting there, and there she's walking. She cannot stand straight. That's how she walks. But for a long time now, she hasn't walked around. But I'm so encouraged that she talks to Jesus. I'll tell you more about her later. Okay, this village is Kodajo. It's 10:30. How long? Okay, keep going. Okay, this lady, this village right here is named Kodajo. Kodajo means wait a minute. And in Kodajo is only 3 houses. And it's the hardest place to get at because you have to go up, up, up. Really, it's like rock climbing. You have to grab a hold and pull up, and it's very difficult. And one day somebody came to me and said, there's a young man there, and he's had a motorcycle accident, and his knee is wide open, and he can't walk, and it's real messed up. And this, too, is elbow. And so I said, okay, we'll go. Well, it's already well in the afternoon, and it takes 2 hours to get there, and then we're going to be coming home in the dark, and so we need to hurry. So I grabbed just a few medicines, only 3 houses, but we want to bring everything because just in case somebody has something you're not prepared, you want to have everything because you're not going to come back and go back. And so we go. And so sometimes people will tell you about somebody, it sounds like they're half dead, and you go there and there's no problem. But other times they tell you it's not a problem, a little bit of diarrhea, and they're almost dead, 3/4 dead. And so we just don't know what to believe. We just go anyway. So we went there, and I asked some man come out of the house, and we asked where is, and said the name. He says, oh, that's me. And I look. There's nothing wrong with him. And I look, and the knee is fine. There's no problem. Just a little scratch. And then the elbow, is nothing at all. And so did you have a motorcycle? Yes, he had one, but he's fine. And so we did treat the whole village that day, and many abscesses. I'm glad I went because that boy's foot was so swollen, full of pus. And this man's arm, so bad. I didn't show you the wound itself because it's very gross. Okay, one day, a truck came up to my house. I have to end on this story. There's so much to tell you. I have so many things to tell you. But this truck came up to our house. I never saw the truck, and I really still don't know if it's 1 truck or 2 trucks, but it's all I know is suddenly we were inundated with patients, and we're in the bamboo hut, and we're treating patients in the center of our home. And I'm praying for somewhere to treat the patients. So this particular day, suddenly, they're all over the ground outside. They're laying out on the ground, and Bledjaw helps this man in with a terrible stomach pain and lays him on the mat, and another lady's got a rag around her mouth. She take it off, revealing a huge sore. And then there's fevers and ear infections and all these people. And so we said, where are you from? Well, they're from a village. It's 6 hours drive. They had to rent a truck to come. And they passed up 2 clinics. And I said, well, why did you come here? And they said, we heard that people get better when they come here. And I said, you know what? That's not us. That's God. Because we pray with the patients. And God is the one that heals them. There is a God. And we took all day treating those patients and teaching them how to be healthy and doing all we could for each one. And by the time they went home, they knew something about God. And one man says, yeah, I got paracetamol from doctors, and it didn't help me at all, but you gave me paracetamol, I got well. I said, it's not that paracetamol, it's God. And so we were able to really, really talk to those people. And in closing, I'll just have to catch up on a few things later, but God has helped us build a clinic, and God has helped us to be able to reach so many people. And just because of the prayer, whatever it takes, Lord. And I would just beg of you today, in your heart of hearts, nothing matters except God. And in your inmost heart, just say, Lord, whatever it takes, I want to serve you and save my family, save this one and that one. And then you'll be able to do whatever it takes to help them. And so God doesn't just add people that you're helping just add them, he multiplies them. And so to me, it's the only way to be in the center of God's will and do his work and give him full control of your life. And so I ask you to do that today because your life will be so rich. And you won't feel the hardships, you won't feel the pain, you'll just feel the gain, and you will be so filled with joy that you can't contain yourself. And someday we'll see Jesus face to face. And the people that we have worked with will thank us. I can't think of any greater joy than somebody coming to me and say, because of you, I'm here. And I can't think of anything worse than somebody coming to me and saying, why didn't you tell me? You lived right there. You knew. And you're here, and now I'm lost, eternally lost. So don't let it be that way for you and your friends today, your people. Let's pray. Dear Lord in heaven, today we just give ourselves fully to you. It's an hourly thing, Lord, because the devil is so desperate to get us and everybody else. But as we cling to you, he has no power over us. And you do all things for us. You provide all our needs. You fulfill our emptiness, loneliness, whatever it is we don't have. You fill it, more than fill it, with your love and your light and your glory. And we are so overjoyed to have you as our Savior. And we're so fortunate to know so much about you. And others know nothing. It just seems so unfair. But help us be effective in our ministry to others. Help us to reach them where they are. And help us not to slack and not be weary in well-doing, because in doing that we'll reap if we don't faint. So please keep us from fainting and keep us strong for you until you come is our prayer. In Jesus' name, thank you.